I'm back with a book review. For all of you who are new to the channel, I'm Dhanya Varma. I'm a talk show host based out of Kochi, Kerala. On this channel, I mostly talk about personal growth and ideas that could better yourself. I also review books that I personally like. Now, in this video, I'm going to review two books for you, two autobiographies. One is Will by Will Smith, and the other is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Now I'll tell you why you should watch this review, because A, of course, there's lots of information packed in these books, and B, because there are plenty of life lessons to take away. So please stick with me till the end of the review. And before I move any further, I would like to request you to please have a look at the link above, which is basically my previous video, Self-Love, and it is something which a lot of people have appreciated. So if you have not watched the video already, do click on the link and watch it after this video is over. I have no clue as to when and where I picked up these books. I think I picked it up at the airport. I haven't been very keen on autobiographies, I should confess, because many of them are of a very boastful nature. It was by sheer coincidence that I picked up these books. They are of two larger-than-life personalities living in the most powerful nation in the world, two black people who have risen to such powerful positions from not so privileged a background. First, I picked up Will by Will Smith, and then a couple of months later, I picked up Michelle Obama's Becoming. Why did I choose this book? I've always admired Will Smith as an actor. His ability to connect with his audience far and wide and across age groups. My kids absolutely love him. Maybe that is why I was interested in reading his book, to know what life is like for a world-famous superstar who deals with millions and millions of dollars every time his movie comes out. When I picked up Will Smith's book, little did I know that a few months down later, he would be embroiled in such a controversy at the Oscars that would shake up the film community the world over. That slap, even in the face of an insensitive and a crude joke, represented toxic masculinity and ingrained aggression. It is in no way forgivable. Even his Oscar speech afterwards was far from repairing the damage caused. And when I heard about the Oscar fiasco, strangely I was in shock because of the deep insights that I gained from this book. His own autobiography had revealed to me his pained, turbulent past and present. In the book, he doesn't glorify himself. Rather, on the contrary, he paints a picture of a man who struggles with himself in spite of the dizzying heights of success he has attained. His childhood wasn't easy, nor was his relationship with his dad. All his primary relationships, especially with his mom, the women he married, and his children, are revealed in great detail. His failings, his shortcomings, everything. I can't imagine any Indian actor doing that. In that context, I kept wondering as to what made him reveal so much of himself in such an unflattering way. Physically speaking, the book is a big one. It's about 412 pages in all. But it doesn't take too long to finish the book. It is quite an easy read. The co-author is Mark Manson, the author of the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. As I read the book, it was Will's voice in my head telling me his story. The way the chapters are divided is also interesting. They are divided into parts like performance, fear, fantasy, power, etc. There are several life lessons you learn during the course of reading this book. One perfect example he gives right in the beginning of the book, and that's the story of how he and his brother constructed a wall, built a wall by themselves. This was at the instruction of his dad. His dad used this as an example to tell him how important it was to lay one brick at a time, basically move ahead one step at a time. The society he inhabits, the trappings of money and fame, the blatant racism and how it destroys lives. It is a roller coaster ride. How things would keep falling apart and he would build it again. Life lessons around self-acceptance, forgiveness, relationships, it's all there for you. So when you read this book, you're not just hearing his story, you're also forced to look within yourself. I was looking within myself too, quite a lot. Your deepest, darkest shortcomings are what you fear the most, I realized. So now coming to my favorite part, which is reading a paragraph from the book. Now, just to give you a context of what had happened, Will Smith had just gotten an Oscar nomination for his movie The Pursuit of Happiness. And after that came I Am Legend and then Hancock. And both of them had biggest openings ever. And this is when all this was happening in his life, all right? So I'm going to page 333. I'm going to read you this paragraph. It says, I was unstoppable. It was the greatest streak of smash hits of any movie actor in Hollywood history. I became the highest grossing film actor ever, and I still wasn't even 40 years old. The problem was I had conflated being successful, being loved, and being happy. These are three separate things. And since I had conflated them, I ended up suffering from an even more insidious version of the subtle sickness, which I can best describe as more. If I'm more successful, I'll be happier, and people will love me more. I was trying to fill an internal emotional hole with external material achievements. Ultimately, this kind of obsession is insatiable. The more you get, the more you want, all the time, never quite scratching the itch. Strange that Will Smith had to say this, right? But after what happened at the Oscars, well, you should probably have a look at this book as well, because you kind of get where all that angst is coming from. And of course, a lot of life lessons for you. Anyway, I would recommend this book, and now I would like to move on to the next book that we are going to review. Okay, now moving on to Becoming by Michelle Obama. Why did I pick up this book? I have heard a lot of speeches of Michelle Obama and have found her to be very real, pragmatic and grounded. There was always an earnestness and honesty, transparency about her, which was very unusual for a first lady. The idea of service through work is something she talks about, and that's something I believe in, and naturally I grew a little curious about her. I wanted an insight into how things work when you're the wife of the President of the United States. There was also something so perfect about them as a couple and as a family, and that was intriguing. I was also fascinated by the balance she struck between her family's needs and her own, ensuring that she grows both personally and professionally, and that was really interesting. But I wasn't sure about this book being an autobiography. If I will stick till the end, I might just get bored and put it away. But none of that happened. I read it from start to finish and I loved it. Like Will's book, this book too travels through childhood to the present years, but the journey is different. Michelle was raised in stability, whereas Will was not. Michelle achieved everything with a goal in mind, whereas Will zigzagged and tumbled his way through it. Both face the oppression of racism in many ways, but in Michelle Obama's book, you will understand the gravity of it all. How centuries of racism has affected millions of black people, depriving them of their opportunities and denying them their dreams. Maybe as a result, her recurring thought throughout her life was, am I good enough? And she keeps telling this to herself, yes, I am. This is a recurring question in her book as well. And she keeps asking this of herself and her family. And we all know what the answer is. It's a resounding yes. Yes, we are good enough. And that's the message she gives us through this book. About parts of the book which completely surprised me and engaged me. I love the parts where she talks about how they met, like Michelle and Obama met, how their love blossomed. She reveals quite a bit when she talks about her miscarriage, and that is not something one can share easily. She also talks about the resentment she developed towards her husband as his political ambitions grew, and how they met a therapist to work through their issues much later. She talks about how she left her full-fledged career as a lawyer, where she was very highly paid, to take up a job which pays much lesser, just so that it aligns with her goals and her value system. And then there is, of course, the inside view of the White House, the grandeur of it all, the ups and downs, the lack of privacy. You get a lot of information about how things work within the White House. That I found was really interesting. There is a flow to it. It is written in a manner which is very easy to read, so you kind of enjoy reading the book without feeling that you're overloaded with information or facts or numbers. Lot of life lessons to be taken away, but the part I loved is on page 370, where she describes how she felt after meeting Nelson Mandela. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs from this page. Mandela had gone to jail for his principles. He had missed seeing his kids grow up, and then he had missed seeing many of his grandkids grow up too. All this without bitterness. All this still believing that the better nature of his country would at some point prevail. He had worked and waited, tolerant and undiscouraged, to see it happen. I flew home propelled by that spirit. Life was teaching me that progress and change happen slowly. Not in 2 years, 4 years, or even a lifetime. We were planting seeds of change, the fruit of which we might never see. We had to be patient. This line made me realize that all of us have this immense power to be those seeds of change. All we needed to do was to do our bit and then be patient. I do think Michelle's book is, in a sense, more filtered than Will Smith's. She could have chosen about many topics she avoided or she chose not to. But overall, if you look at it, she has revealed quite a bit of herself through this book. 2 autobiographies, 2 inspiring books, but both of a different flavor. I absolutely love reading them both, and I hope you will enjoy it as well. Next up, I think I'm going to pick up Barack Obama's A Promised Land. Anyways, if you like this video, do leave that like and also share the video with your friends and family. Please check out the other videos on my channel, and if you like them, do subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Do take care of yourself.